Ninja! Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
How do I make this thing? Here we go.
Right now, I got a few words for some of our... It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn.
All right, we do that. That's why we do the show at midnight, and why we will be doing the other show at noon, because of that part right there.
Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone.
Do I need to even talk about that one?
The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall.
So that is one of the two codes that they'll say here, and these are reminiscent of the codes that would have been sent out during World War II to the operatives behind enemy lines. The French resistance and the other, the OSS and the spies, the people that would be listening in on radios that would have been illegal to own. So it would have been a very risky operation completely for people to even be intercepting that. Those codes, of course, would mean things. Chairs Against the Wall is fake. I think it's from the movie.
John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache.
But that one is from The Longest Day, a movie that was made about D-Day, and I believe that's an actual one. John has a long mustache. I think that was an actual thing that was said back in World War II. Of course, we've got a Chairs Against the Wall series of patches as a subtle nod to that concept. This show doesn't have any behind-the-scenes messages that you're aware of. The odd messages that go out here are the, just standard stuff. But that's the parts there is to indicate what could be going out parallel or in the along with the other data in messages and shows like these.
It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory.
So 12 o'clock, another day closer to victory, right? You're either in a fight or you're getting ready for a fight or you're unaware that you're in a fight. So anybody that thinks they're at rest or anybody that thinks it's over or thinks that it's done is not playing an actual game. They're playing a sport. They're playing a kid's game where there's a beginning and an end where you keep score and at the end everyone stops and goes home. That's not real life. In real life, you play to exist, you play to live, and that requires eternal vigilance.
And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
We don't play any songs because of this bullshit, but if we were able to run on just GunTube eventually, then yeah, we'll play songs. And at the end there, it's Bob from Canada crying. And then I guess Barbecue jumped in. Otherwise, I had a physics lecture queued up to listen to that I'll listen to when this is over. But otherwise, that's what we were going to listen to tonight because I was sick of trying to listen to music. But the link is out there. This show is a conversation. It's not here to entertain you. I'm not here to fucking frighten you. I'm not here to shake fists at the sky, and I'm not here to stroke fucking egos or nothing. I'm not here to be a dick. But I just want to talk about guns, and you can get saturated with bullshit, and I'm definitely not going to be led by the mainstream media and fill what time in my life there is with their messages. Be aware, but to be saturated is ridiculous, and to spend our time together, which I value, I'll never spend it on news of the day. So if you want to listen to news of the day, there's literally other things you could be listening to. If you value actual constructive growth and conversation, welcome. So we got barbecue in here, DJ's out there, TTP's out there, erstwhile. You're all welcome to join in, of course. Otherwise, I got nerd stuff. I got some always working on the projects, and I wanted to add the hunting stuff to the 50 states. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to do that real quick because there's only like 12 hunting organizations that are national or worth a shit. I shouldn't say worth a shit. There's only 12 that are like national that I'm going to put into this thing that's talking about the states. But and I found a couple other things to add. So I've been basically working on this again all day. So I've been working on setting up some notes and stuff, and now I'm going to be adding them in here. So barbecue's got stuff to say, then we'll be talking. Otherwise, I'll be playing a physics lecture that's all queued up over here.
How much do you know about old Winchester lever actions, G?
I don't know. What do you need to know? What kind of questions you got? What are you talking about?
I just more curious why everybody wants to collect the pre-64s. I know it's something to do with quality, but
because in 64 it's when they went from milled internals, so they take a piece of metal and they remove. If erstwhile was in here, you can tell us about this, but they take a piece of solid billet, a piece of chunk of metal, and they just take files and scrapers and spoons and sandpaper, and they remove the parts that they don't want. In 64, they went to stamped, where they'll take like a tin can and they'll fold it into the shape they need. So it works, but some people suggest that you can fill the dimension with metal, but when it's hollow sheet metal folded around, it's just not the same feel. It doesn't have the same mass. So the pieces working on each other while they're going to operate, and they're just going to be what's the word? I don't know, like not a cadence. I don't know what to call it, but when you go to open up a BB gun, it can, like a Red Ryder BB gun, that hollow plastic, everything's just looks like a gun, but nothing's in there. When you go to work that gun, it feels like a squirt gun. It feels like a hollow toy. So, it's not that drastic or nothing, but compared to a older one, that's all metal and you're just carrying around all that extra metal, it's technically lighter, I'm sure, to have all the stamped metal in there, but, technically only a little bit lighter. But whatever, there's just some different feel to it. It's like the difference between woods maybe and a musical instrument. So I think they work fine. I had one. And then because I was hanging out at the gun shop, I knew that I had a post 64, and I just didn't. It just rubbed me the wrong way. It's like having an old, like it's having like a Model 80, 1911. There's just no reason to have it when you could not have it. So whenever the first time I was able to, I swapped it in on a pre-64. But I don't know if I can even tell the difference. I didn't use it enough I don't use it enough, I should say, to, I think I still have it. I don't use it enough. I might have sold it. Actually, I might have sold it now that I'm thinking about it. I don't really ever use it. I only own it out of obligation. I figured I shouldn't live in Arizona and not have a lever action gun. Douchebag move, right? Actually, I got to watch out because I think I gave away the what do you call it? The mare's leg. Some dude in Illinois. So I might not even own a lever action right now. I might be in douchebag status.
yeah, I've gotten to handle a lot of the Winchesters, but to myself, I can never tell a difference. And my local shop had gotten, I think 4 or 5 pre-64s, and I was like, I've always heard about it and never took the time to look into it. Then I was trying to look into it, and I couldn't find anything that actually told me why the pre-64s are supposed to be better. But that makes more sense now that they went from being a piece of billet to being stamped.
First while saying he thinks it was let me see on here. Investment casting. I think this was before that. Like that's been a thing lately to cast everything instead of mill everything. So casting is even different. You just take something, you make it out of wax, like a 9mm gun made out of wax. But you take that and you little plaster around it, and then you pour metal in and it replaces the wax. They call it lost wax, or I think that's what they call it, lost wax casting. So you're left with a part that's pretty much exactly the part you need, right? So that's a way to do things, but I guess they use like old soup cans and nastiness to cast these parts so they become brittle and shitty. And that's one of the dangers, I guess, of casting, especially a part that's going to, be an internal, where it's going to be striking or leveraging or yanking on something else, where the integrity of the metal, the like strength of it is important. Having some, is it called strain? Whatever it's called, like grain, I guess, grain. Having that gives it strength. I don't know. I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't even know. I know enough to know that I don't know it all. But there's a whole bunch of, there's aluminum, and then there's aircraft grade aluminum. There's metal, and then there's metal. There's casting, and then there's casting. So, but I think it was, at least from what I remember, they told me it was stamped. I think they might be when they were moved to Japan or something. I don't think they moved to Japan that long ago. Well, I know it's been around for a long time, but I don't think it was in the guns that much. It wasn't until, I don't know, maybe Ruger. Well, Ruger's been casting the shit out of stuff for a long time. I don't want to act like I know more than I know, but like I say, I'm pretty sure they told me it was stamped.
This into physics talk, if the ball doesn't have enough kinetic energy to get over the potential energy of the hill, it'll never get over, like ever. But of course, in quantum mechanics, things aren't so simple. If we replace the ball with a quantum particle like an electron, and the hill with some kind of potential barrier, even if the electron doesn't have enough kinetic energy to jump the potential barrier, sometimes.
Well, I went over to Volter, which is Abrams Aviation, and they were telling us all about how when you extrude under heat and pressure, you can create aluminum that has more strength, crystalline structure or whatever. I don't know what to call it, grain. And, they make vibration welding stuff. So they do all kinds of crazy parts for all kinds of things. And they got parts that are on Voyager outside the solar system. And anyway, I don't like to say, maybe that's just the way to differentiate high grade aluminum versus cheap aluminum. But I'm pretty sure the, block I get at the, I don't know, jewelry store or whatever, the jewelry craft store or something, isn't, like I say, the same as something that's made for space or whatever, made for like an aircraft or a engine or something. Especially with aluminum, where I've got parts over here that are just made out of aluminum, to be lighter. Tools and things, that might come out of aluminum. I'm sure that's not the same as space aluminum. And once in a while, Walt will jump in or Bacon will jump in and have stuff to chat about, but ETP really never jumped in before. I think Erstwhile's jumped in live ever. He's got some things he's working on out there. I guess he's saying from earlier, who asked about the gun? DJ was asking about the gun. So the Rossi 720. You're carrying a Rossi? And then a CZP01. And is that it really? Anybody else said anything?
Is the Rossi 720 a handgun, or is it their lever action rifle?
Well, about a carry, so I'm guessing it's a revolver.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
44 special, he says.
Times it can end up on the other side. This is called quantum tunneling, And in this video, we're going to see how it works. So now, the long version. So one of the biggest differences between quantum and classical physics is that quantum physics is probabilistic. Unlike a ball, we can't pinpoint exactly where an electron is. This comes from the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which says that we can never know the exact position and momentum of an object. It's not because our measuring devices are too crappy or because we're too slow. It's just something fundamental about the laws of nature. But not all hope is lost. Maybe we don't know exactly where the electron is, but we know with a pretty
G, you're muted.
Now when
Yeah.
this wave collides with the
Like I say, I listen into some. I don't know. I sit here talking. Are we saying anything?
Oh, I thought we were listening to
You have
this.
an opinion on running a shoulder holster, so
I went and just Googled that Rossi 720. I actually used to have one of those. I couldn't remember what the model was, though. It was actually the first handgun I ever bought.
oh really?
Yeah.
Do you have the Smith and Wesson cylinder release or Colt?
Smith & Wesson. It actually had lock on the hammer as well, so you could actually lock it so it couldn't be cocked at all.
What? Why would you do that? Like a crossbolt safety, but it made so the hammer wouldn't go back?
It was actually like, because you know how the hammer has that roundness to it, right below the spur. It was actually built into that semicircle. So you would actually, I think, turned it left, and it would actually protrude out. And if you tried to cock the hammer, it would hit the frame. It was a terrible gun purchase from the get-go, though. When I looked at it at the gun shop, I didn't know squat about revolvers at the time. I always had an interest in them, but I was young, dumb, didn't know anything about anything with them, didn't know how to check timing or anything. And my family had bought several guns from this shop throughout my childhood, so I didn't think the guy was going to rip me off or anything. And the first sign that something was wrong is when I had swung the cylinder open and the crane and the cylinder and everything just fall out and slam into the cement floor. And he just kind of looks at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, oh, because apparently I'm an idiot. This must just always happen, and I look like a putz right now. So I pick it up and, slide it back into the frame and whatnot. And it was like 6 months later, I started going to school for gunsmithing, and that's when I figured out, oh, there's a screw missing here that I never paid attention to. And
Missing? Like you dropped it, or like it was never in there?
the screw was never there. There was a screw with a plunger and spring to hold that actually went across and held the crane in place so it wouldn't actually fall out. And that was missing when I had purchased the firearm. That's why it had fallen out of the revolver when I was looking at it at the shop. But like I said, at that time, I was young and dumb and didn't know squat about revolvers. Then after I started to go to school for gunsmithing, and like I said, I figured out that, oh, that's not normal. And got the parts to fix that. Then I learned how to time revolvers, and I figured out that the timing was off on it. It was out of time. Um, it was just a terrible purchase from the get go. I'm sure it's probably a fine handgun and all. It's just what's that?
The Rossi?
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably a fine handgun, like when it was brand new. I was just taken advantage of because I was young and dumb by a scrupulous shop owner.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Rossi's. I haven't owned a shit ton of them, but I've seen enough of them to sit there being medium that not hot or cold on it.
The reason I'm not a fan of Rossi is simply because Taurus's customer service is absolute dog crap. Because I had to deal with their customer service when I had to order that screw, spring, and plunger. And that was just a nightmare. But as far as Rossi's go, I know several people that have that circuit judge rifle, and they've had nothing but great times with it. Never had any issues. So I try and not judge judge Rossi by that one gun. Give him the benefit of the doubt. For DJ's question, I don't mind shoulder holsters. Um, I find that they give me tension headaches, which, if you look into people reviewing shoulder holsters at all, it seems to be a hot button issue. Just with the way the weight gets distributed across your shoulders. Um, I mean, if it's how you want to carry, it's better than nothing. But one of the things you got to worry about is flagging people when you go to unholster. You also have to worry about flagging yourself when you go to unholster, primarily flagging the inside of your arm where you have a major artery. If you were to have a negligent discharge and shoot yourself in that artery, you bleed out in, I think, less than 2 minutes. But if you actually lift your free arm when you're going to unholster from a shoulder holster, you should have no problem clearing yourself.
Yeah, that's one of those things where that's the theory or whatever. Then in reality, how many people have shot themselves in the arm drawing from a shoulder holster or somebody behind them or something like that? So the main thing is what you're doing. So, like, I think in a canoe or a motorcycle or something, it might be ideal, but or horseback. in a vehicle maybe for some people, but just in general, a big fat guy wearing one, it's gonna stick out. Unless your body shape is different than a lot of people, then you're not gonna have a bunch of armpit room. So it's just gonna be obvious. Plus, you're sweating on it, so you're basically putting your gun in your armpit. I don't like putting nothing in my armpit because, well, I live in obviously heat right now, but even if it was cold out, I don't know if I want my gun in my armpit all day. So on the outside, I don't think it's called a shoulder holster. It's more like one of those pilot holsters. It's called like a guide holster, I think, but it's more like a shoulder holster that a pilot would have worn in World War II on the outside of all their shit. Like literally just to have it so that you can usually right-handed, right? So you're gonna move your right hand over your heart, and your gun's right there, on the outside, and it's kind of pointed down. I don't know why. That's just the way they made them. But for the inside the shirt, and it depends. Like if it's a big gun, that's a lot different than a little gun. Having a small thing, small, narrow, lightweight, slender thing in a shoulder holster. And then is it chicks? Because I think a shoulder holster for a chick is a lot different, where she's already got clothing that gives her all kinds of extra room around that part of her body. She's going to have flowy, flowery crap on to disguise something bigger right there. People aren't necessarily staring. I guess some people are going to stare right at her, but most people aren't going to, their eyes aren't going to stay fixed on her boobs. So she got a gun next to them, and that might be ideal. But, and chicks are always wearing weird clothes. So I don't know what kind of situation we're talking, but I think in general, I personally would rather have my gun in my pants, not on the outside, unless it's a really good holster and good setup or whatever. But most of the time, inside my pants has been my favorite thing, either inside my pocket or inside my waistband. I always know it's there. I can tell immediately if it's there or not. It can't fall out. If it does fall out, I know immediately if it fell out. And shoulder holster flaps all around. Can you imagine having to, let's say you got to run down a bunch of steps and then do some parkour shit over some fence and then slide across the hood of a car, jump in the window without even opening the door. Do all that with a shoulder holster on. You're scraping the shit out of your car. You're scraping the shit out of your gun. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Also, DJ, the shoulder holster that you're looking at, is it vertical or horizontal? Just out of curiosity, it doesn't really make a difference.
What kind of gun are we talking about? That giant 44 Magnum? What about the children? What if the children saw that? I don't know. I think he's talking about yours with preferences and safety. That safety thing. If you're a spaz, you shouldn't have a gun on anywhere that it's going to cross a major artery. But if you feel like you're not a spaz, I guess I don't know too many people that grab their gun and pull the trigger. It happened, but just for that, I'm allergic to Skynet and then robots. Synthetic adhesive has me blistered up from that CMG robot stuck on my arm. What are we talking about? Just got some kind of robot touching you? I don't let robots touch me, dude. If you go to Walmart and one of them robots wants to put something on you, don't let it. It has no right. I don't carry a 12 or 6. I'm right-handed, so cross-draw is my other option. It's my question about shoulder. See, I don't care. I don't have a problem with cross-draw. Some people don't like cross-draw because it doesn't look cool or whatever, but I can understand cross-draw. Especially if you're going to be sitting in a car or something. I think cross-draw is probably one of your better options. And then something happens to your good hand, you can still get at it pretty damn easy with your other hand. Like, just a little bit awkward, but try to get it, at like a normal carry for most people somewhere on their right side. Try getting that with your left hand, especially if you're a fat guy. No way. But cross draw, that's why the old men carried it that way back in the old days.
Let's say, DJ, what are you carrying exactly? Let's say, because if it's revolver or something, there's some really cool old West holsters that are made cross draw to go on your belt.
Yeah, just take a normal holster and put it backwards on the other side. It's all holsters are cross draws for the other side, right?
That's true.
They fit on there. The belts are really different. Like the loops are really weird. It might not work, but most holsters that are normal sided for your right hand is going to be cross draw for you. It's also, and then same thing, I guess, for left handed people. Legally, they're allowed to have guns. So if they put their left handed holster on their right side, it's a cross draw. It's still legal. Even though they're acting like they're right handed like that. That's not, it doesn't affect their legal status. Oh, 45, wait, a Smith & Wesson 45C. That could be anything. Wait, what? Q will be cleared. What? Fuck YouTube. So when you have, how do I have a Q? I'm trying to close this video on YouTube and it's in that little tiny player. I don't even know how I got it into the little tiny player. Then it created some Q. Yeah, fucking close the Q. I don't care. It created some Q. I don't even know what YouTube's doing. I watched one Chuck. Who's his name? The guy from Death Wish. I watched one of Charles Bronson's movies on YouTube. Like, I don't know why. They just have it. It's not the YouTube movie. It's just some guy who uploaded the movie, and it worked. It was like 2 commercials in it, too. And now it's, and it was like some, I don't know what it was called. It was something about a Western guy who's robbing a train, and then he's robbing it from a samurai. And he kills, no, there's 2 samurais and the ambassador of Japan. And they're heading on a train from one side of the country to the other, and then this train gets robbed, and then the samurai guy and cowboy go at it. So it's a pretty cool movie. So I watched that, and it's from like the 70s or something. And now YouTube's showing me all kinds of, it's showing me something called Apache Woman. Looks like something from the Civil War. Some sort of Apache woman gets over the Civil War. Let's see over here. Red Sun. Oh yeah, that's the movie. Did you see it, or is it recommending it to everybody right now? I can reach my gun with my left hand at 4. I'm a skinny dude. Here's the thing. If you're skinny, that means people on the other side of you can get to your gun. When you're fat, you're basically protecting your gun from people on the other side of you. It's just inherent. It's an extra bonus that fat people get. Skinny people don't get that bonus. Somebody sitting 2 people down can probably steal your gun if you're skinny enough. You gotta be careful when you're skinny.
It's one of the reasons I didn't want to have my fat guy surgery.
I'm always concerned somebody's gonna like kidnap me and put me in some room for like, I don't know, a month where I won't be able to eat for a month. That way I feel like I want to be a certain amount of fat, so in case of that ever happens. I'm sure a bunch of people have seen it. So yeah, it's interesting. Basically, the asshole ambassador of Japan is like, oh, somebody stole my shit. Tell you what, samurai, you got 7 days. Either go get it back. I don't know how big this country is. Of course, I come from Japan, which is like not even the size of fucking California. But here, you go ahead and find this thing in this country that we both don't know anything about. And you got 7 days, otherwise you're going to kill yourself. That was the beginning of, well, not the beginning, but that was the essence of the, well, it was a pretty long movie. So that's actually just a portion, one of the adventures in it. But interesting. So I'm going to try that from now on. People fuck around. I'm going to give them a rope with a couple of knots in it. Be like, all right, every day you got to untie a knot. And when it's no more knots, you got to kill yourself. Jab yourself in the stomach with a knife. I figure I've got a lot more shit done that way. All right. So in here, I'm going to go right back to that physics lecture. How long is this one? 12 minutes. What the fuck? They're not going to let me think with this one? Oh, it's the commercial you can't think with.
This episode is supported by the Great Courses Plus. Statistically speaking, you are disembodied. You just came into being randomly out of the physical order.
You hear that?
Your entire life also just came into being through a chance arrangement of particles. That includes your memory of that last statement, and that one, and that one. You, my friend, are a Boltzmann brain, statistically speaking. Ludwig Boltzmann revolutionized physics in the latter half of the 19th century. His most incredible insight was the kinetic theory of gases. He showed that the laws of thermodynamics can be explained by thinking of gas as a collection of microscopic particles in constant random motion. Take entropy, for example. Prior to Boltzmann, entropy was only understood as a measure of the proportion of energy in a system that can be used for useful work. For example, the hot, dense gas in a recently fired engine piston only expands because it's surrounded by a colder, less dense environment. The energy in that burning gasoline does the useful work of driving your car down the street. But if you put the compressed piston in an environment that's full of equally hot, dense gas, nothing happens. The gas in the piston still contains the same amount of energy, but it's useless energy. Why? Because in the latter case, the gas inside the piston is in thermal equilibrium with the gas outside the piston. Everything the same temperature and pressure, perfectly mixed. Entropy is a measure of how far from equilibrium the system is. The lower the entropy, the further from equilibrium. Any part of the universe left to its own devices always tends to flow back to equilibrium. That's the second law of thermodynamics right there. Entropy must always increase in a closed system. And it's that flow back to equilibrium, that increase in entropy, that can be harnessed to do work. But why does the universe have to return to equilibrium? Why does entropy always increase? Boltzmann figured this out. Entropy is just a measure of the specialness, or the degree of order, in the current arrangement of positions and velocities of the system's particles. It's the proportion of possible states that are indistinguishable from the current state. Instead of an engine, imagine a room full of air. The air molecules are moving randomly, and over time they pass through all possible arrangements that they could have. In most of those random arrangements, the room is filled pretty evenly, and we can't tell those arrangements apart from each other. That's a high entropy situation because a high proportion of all possible states look just like this one. But in a tiny fraction of those possible distributions, all of the air molecules end up randomly bunched together in one corner, or, I don't know, produce a density wave playing the Ballad of Serenity over and over. If you count up all the possible arrangements of particles, only a tiny proportion do weird, highly ordered stuff like that. So they would be a low entropy situation. Entropy increases because particle positions and velocities get randomized over time. Boltzmann's interpretation of entropy leads to a prediction that seems innocuous, but has some astounding implications. His statistical interpretation doesn't prohibit entropy from decreasing. In fact, it allows it. For example, tiny localized dips in entropy happen all the time when you get a chance convergence of a few particles in one corner of the room. The larger the random dip in entropy, the less probable it is. But improbable isn't impossible. There's an incredibly tiny chance that all of the particles in a room of gas will happen to all end up in one corner of the room due to their random motion. It would take vastly longer than the age of the universe for it to happen. So in practice, we never observe the second law of thermodynamics being broken on macroscopic scales. But given infinite time, any non-impossible arrangement will happen. Imagine an infinitely large room, a universe that's in perfect thermal equilibrium for infinite time. All sorts of dips in entropy will happen. Particles will occasionally converge into a dense environment, like a black hole or a galaxy, or into a complex arrangement like a teapot or a box DVD set of the Nevermade Seasons 2 through 8 of Firefly. All incredibly improbable. However, there's one arrangement that those particles could randomly fall into that would be even less probable than all of the above. All the particles in a region much larger than our universe could randomly end up in almost the exact same location. Such an arrangement would give us the Big Bang. It's not known whether the Big Bang originated as a low entropy dip in an otherwise high entropy universe. I mean, it may have, but however it happened, entropy was extremely low at the instant of the Big Bang, and it's been increasing.
This guy here looks like some sort of, he looks like one of them people that likes steampunk shit. What do they call them kind of people? So I don't think he is that whatever that accent is. He's just acting like he's whatever that accent is. Anybody watch Mike Sedini's thing with Cheryl Todd this morning?
No, I didn't catch that.
It's pretty decent. Walk the Talk America and Mike's project, is evolving or getting bigger or whatever you want to say, expanding as he experiences more and he gets more opportunities and I guess more understanding of how, more understanding of how the doctors understand guns and how gun owners are reacting to him and thus blah blah blah, right? So he's kind of talked about that. So he's done plenty of, at this point 2 years in, plenty of interviews talking about Walk the Talk America. So this time at the interview this morning, he's more talking, what would you call that, like the scope of it. Anyhow, one of the things they talked about, which I thought was pretty good, was how he puts this card in there into the boxes of, some gun owners, some gun manufacturers have allowed them, Walk the Talk, to give them like a card or whatever so they can put in the gun as like a new gun. And I was thinking about the way that, I forgot how he said it. He said something, the way he said it though, he said, we're letting them know that, here's your safety. Like if somebody who's opening up, unpacking their new gun that they just bought, that we're letting them know, like as they go through the different brochures and stuff, here's some insurance for your gun probably. Here's some gun explanation how to use the thing. Here's some safety, maybe something about laws or whatever. And he's like, now we're also going to ask people to put in there something about, hey, and if you're ever feeling bad, here's some resources. Here's a number you can call. Here's some people you can depend on. Anyway, I think the way he said it, though, made me think of it in a different way than he said it before, or that I've, heard them talk about it before. And that made me think of like putting something on that card about how welcoming or how like positive a community gun people are, because we all kind of know that, but a new gun owner may, unless they seek it out, unless they stumble across it or seek it out. And why would you seek it out if you didn't know it was the thing, right? So sloppy was I? Shit, I must have been in a hurry. Oh no, wait, maybe I never figured out where this one was. That's what it is. I never figured out where this one is. Does anybody know where the area code 614 is? Anyway, so I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I was thinking maybe like some sort of a map, like a placemat when you go somewhere. Have some sort of a map that explains, what all there is in the gun community or whatever. And then I was trying to say something to the effect of, I got it right here. Something to the effect of, then if you ever, or guns can be, what's the word? Like guns can be too much, like they can be overwhelming, I guess. So if you ever need whatever, then, or if you ever need more help or assistance or some insight or whatever, then check out a gun show or a gun shop or the range to get people like aware that, not just like, again, laws or safety or whatever, but hey, there's a massive community out there. You didn't just buy a gun, you bought sort of like a ticket to the club or whatever. I don't know if I'm saying it right because I'm trying to talk and type at the same time. But anyway, I just thought something about what he had said this morning made me think that. I tried to type in the comments, but it's always weird when you're trying to summarize or whatever a bunch of concept like that.
It'd definitely be interesting. Definitely would, I think, help break that stigma of the old fat white guy that the gun community still has, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's all you got, you go into a shop with big fat white guys and you buy your gun from a big fat white guy or whatever, and then you leave. Like, why would you think that there's not, or why would you think to? I don't know. I guess this day and age, I guess you'd have to be pretty dumb, I guess, to not look around. Like, oh, I'm interested in something else, but I'm not going to go look on the internet and see if there is anything else. I guess that doesn't really happen. Well, maybe for old people. It's so fucking Indiana.
But I think part of that issue is that, like so many other things, the vocal minority. And I feel like sometimes that vocal minority that gets the most attention, and it might just be because of that stigma that gun culture has of the, that old fat white guy. It's them who get the light shined on them.
Thanks. Yeah, and then again, just not. I don't know. So anyway, I don't know how much you could cram on that card either. I just thought it was a concept, I guess, to talk about is the idea that the community or I guess the community is a. I don't want to say like everybody's got a friend here or nothing like weird like that, but it isn't. I don't know what I'm trying to think. Like if you buy what's something you could buy? Like if you bought a metal detector, it's sort of like, okay, you bought a metal detector, go screw yourself. Go figure out what to do, go join a club, but you bought a metal detector, big deal. It's not like when you buy an Xbox nowadays. I'm guessing most games go to some place where you play games with other people. If you buy a tennis racket, I mean, I guess there's something you can do with the tennis racket by yourself, but you're probably going to go play tennis with somebody, right? You buy a basketball, you're going to go play basketball with somebody, probably. So, somebody who buys a gun might think it's like that, like something that you take and go use by yourself. But it's like a single. What's the word for that? Like a single activity, an individual activity, when it doesn't have to be at all. It can be the opposite completely, really. Actually, it could be anything. So anyway, I guess maybe just adding that aspect to whatever it is that they're using. I want to call it welcoming, because a non-new gun owner isn't looking at that shit either. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like somebody who's buying their 15th gun probably ain't examining every piece of paper that's in that box with that new gun. I'm guessing.
Yeah, like I've got a pile of those blue and yellow pamphlets that have the safety stuff on them and whatever else, and I would get them in almost every gun that I would buy.
So we got Tex Powers in here. Good evening.
Yeah. Hello.
I'll
Howdy.
link that again for anybody that doesn't see it earlier. But yeah, you're welcome. Jump in. This is a conversation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty much distracted because I'm fiddling over here, but I appreciate people jumping in so I can keep something going here.
Yeah. No, I jumped in, but then I had to answer an email for work, so that's why I was quiet. But nope, just came to see and came to listen, came to talk.
So I don't know where they're at over here talking about. Guy sounds like he's using metric. I haven't even made an attempt. All I know is that I can't find. What are we talking about here? Anyone having bad luck finding ammo? I went several places.
Reloading.
Made an attempt. I can't find primers. Right. So here's the deal. This is not the first time to the rodeo. The industry, the country, right? We've had this wave over and over. So whoever's old enough to have lived through a few of them can chime in. But don't get too freaked out. Even look at World War II. I mean, recently been doing this stuff, so I've been paying more attention than I ever have before. But even in World War II, people were like, "Man, there's not enough ammo." You know, it's like fucking there's a World War going on, for crying out loud, and they're sitting there bitching about there's not enough ammo. So don't worry about it. Like whatever, 8 months ago, like, well, how long ago? A year ago at this point. Wait, yeah, I'd say a year ago at this point. You know what I mean? Like there was plenty of ammo, right? I haven't bought ammo in a while, but I'm not crazy, right? There was plenty of ammo. Nobody was even considering a shortage or anything.
Right.
If you stick around for a while, because there must be people that don't stick around. There's no way that this many people are experiencing this ammo thing for the first time. You know what I mean? If there were people that stuck in the game from 2013, they would be doing the same thing I'm doing. Don't panic. This isn't the first time and it's not the last time you're ever going to see this. So next time that ammo is available, buy the shit out of it. And that doesn't mean wait until you have an extra $800. Nobody has that. At least I don't. Instead, every time you go to the shop, buy a box of ammo. People recommend that kind of shit all the time. Every time you go to the gun show, in order to help offset the price of the entry of that gun show, if you're still paying to get into a gun show, then buy a box of ammo or two. And every time you buy ammo to go to the range, buy two. And then that way you put one on the shelf for long term and you've got one that you use that day. But don't ever consider ammo like water that comes out of the faucet. I shouldn't consider water that comes out of the faucet some sort of a given. But anyway, just if people are seriously worried about it, then all I can offer you is that you're going to be, if you stick in this, I wish I could, I can't even, I was sitting there trying to think of it the last time I heard another chat, let's say, crying and moaning, and they were going on for like 15 minutes. And that's fine. It's your right to experience something for the first time. But my advice is wallow around and be as upset as you want, be outraged or whatever. But you're going to, if you stick with guns, you're going to experience this so many times that you're like me, where you've experienced. I started paying attention in 2000, Y2K. It happened before that. I just wasn't paying attention. So it's, anyway, go ahead.
I always had, I've been shooting, since I was a kid, and I always had a stock. But when the Sandy Hook thing happened, I didn't want to get caught like that again. So I kind of did what you, like every time I'd end up at a store or something like that, I would buy one box or two, and then I would buy bulk online, and when it came after that craze was over, and all the time, if I had extra money, that's where it went. And I stored up a ton, because I after Sandy, like I said, I was not going to get caught flat-footed again like that. And right now I'm good. I don't need it. But that's what I did. Anytime I had a little extra or any chance or opportunity, if there was a sale or something like that, I picked it up. Especially the stuff that's pricier or disappears first, stuff like that. So I would buy 9mm in bulk, 5.56 in bulk. That's the only reason that I'm not looking for ammo right now, because I took 6 years to stock up. Little by little.
Let's see. You're losing gears to the road. Probably will be.
What's up, G?
I was just reading the comments, and
okay.
you were saying that the reloading stuff is through the roof, but like I say, everything is going to be crazy here for a bit. Just like toilet paper was there for a minute. It's just a different cycle. Let's see.
I don't even remember, like after Sandy Hook, I don't remember, and I know every area is different, but by about 6 to 7 months after that, like by the time fall, the stores here were pretty much over it, and you could buy stuff and the limits were gone and all that. But I heard in other places that that stuff had just gone and everyone just had to get it online if they could.
Well, one thing for people to possibly think about is they look at ammunition and they're like, oh, that's such a big expense, going and, even if they wanted to buy a box every week, they're like, that's $30 or that's $20 or,
Yeah.
however much it's going to cost. And
Especially
one thing
defense
I
ammo.
always, yep. And one of the things I always tell people though is, are you going and buying a case of beer or 2 cases of beer every weekend? Well, you can go buy a case of ammo for approximately the same price. So, and when you think about it, even if you're just getting 150-round box of ammo, if you do that every week, that's 2,500 rounds that you bought that year.
Yeah. And one of the things I did, I'd sign up for the big websites, and they all, in their emails, and it's kind of annoying because you get a lot of emails, but they have a lot of decent sales when stuff's normal. And you get a 1,000 rounds of 9mm dirt cheap every now and then. And if it was a really good price, that's what I would do. Or the bulk packs at Walmart, I can't remember, it's Federal or Spear, 250 rounds of 9mm or 45. Sometimes though, they would just price them for like almost half off, and I just pick a couple, and that's what I did little by little, and just stacked it up. Again, it was, I didn't have a huge expense all at once. I just did it little by little, and it's been 6 years, and that, I didn't want to end up like that again, Especially like with the people looking for the 22. I remember Sandy Hook, places like Cheaper Than Dirt selling, 1,000 rounds of 22 for $100.
Yeah, see, we were bitching about that earlier. So, what the fuck? Everybody's, $100 to me is different than $100 to somebody else, right? That's different than $1,000 to somebody else. I know
Right.
people can drop $1,000 without blinking. I literally sat down at $1,000 dinner before. I live on $1,000 a month, and I've sat at $1,000 dinner. The world's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So people that cry and complain about $500. That ain't a fucking tire on a fancy car. That's nothing. So for somebody that don't give a crap and money don't mean the same to them, just getting upset about it, like, oh, people are paying more than this. It's like saying, oh, like somebody paid more for their sink. Look, go worry about how much someone paid for their toilet, for crying out loud.
Yep.
Like, I'm using an old fucking secondhand toilet, and I've got a even different secondhand toilet that I'm going to be putting in. And there's people that probably spend more for their toilet, in the world, than my whole damn house, if you count all the weird gold toilets and shit that are out there. But just in general, go look at how much like a skyscraper pays on their, plumbing bill or something. Like, there's just a ridiculous like concept that, oh, it's like when there's a shortage, people are going to pay a lot. And right now we've got an unusual, like a unique, I guess, situation. So I don't understand why you'd even consider getting frustrated about anything that's happening right now as far as prices and availability and stuff. I mean, that's like, oh, it's like getting mad that stuff's getting wet when it's raining. Like, what, have you never been outside before? You don't know how the world works?
Yep. I did, like when the Sandy Hook thing happened, and the whole this that's going on was happening. Then I sometimes things catch my attention, and I focus on them in an unhealthy way. And what I did was I signed up for all the those ammo engine websites, and found the places that weren't jacking up their prices, and I would set up alerts and stuff like that, and then I would share them on the forums. Like I say, hey, someone has this much ammo at the regular price, and that stuff would sell out immediately. But if you got there early enough and you wanted it, you could get it, and that works too. I mean, not every place is Cheaper Than Dirt or whoever it is. Some places they have limits and they sell at the normal price. So, I mean, I remember how many posts I made. I was on FN forums, and because I like 5.7 handguns and the SCAR and all that, and I would just all the time get alerts and find it and look for it. It just kind of consumed me for a while. my kid was born in 2013, and so I was home with him, so I had all the time in the world. And yeah, I just, if you look hard enough, or if you invest it, or if you kind of just set yourself up to do, I'll spend this much when I can, or whatever like that. It'll take time, but you will be able to get it. And when something happens again, you won't be looking for it. At least that worked for me. Everyone's different about what they can spend or what they can do. So
Now he's saying, just looking for something to do, but what about just switching calibers, or is it pieces that it's not the specifics? You're not able to get. I guess if you can't get anything, then it's not going to help you. I'm just saying, if you're looking for something to do, maybe switch into a caliber you got, like if you got a bunch of shotgun stuff or whatever.
yeah. And I don't know if this was the same everywhere else, but when the Sandy Hook thing happened, the shotgun stuff was kind of still around, and that didn't disappear off the shelves, at least here. Like the 9 and the 22 and everything else did. But this whole thing we're doing now, I think, to me, seems way worse than the Sandy Hook craze.
No.
You don't think so?
It's hard to judge apples and oranges, really, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm just I'm thinking like when I go to the stores.
Sandy Hook was, see, again, people weren't even paying attention or weren't there, but we had a factory in Florida burned down, so there was no powder. There was no powder. Like, there's only, how many places you think make gunpowder? Right now, there's like 4 places that make gunpowder in the whole world. And when one of them burnt down, done. Like, that was affecting things. And at the same time, Europe made it legal to shoot 22s or something, someplace in Europe or all of Europe or something. I didn't really pay attention. But anyway, there was a massive demand created in Europe at the same time that no more supply was coming, right? And then I think at the same time, some other company decided to turn off because every once in a while they got to do that or something. Or it was the company that turned off is the one that burned up. But either way, the one that burned down said, well, great, that's a good time to upgrade, right? So they took longer to rebuild than they would have normally and stuff. So that was that was a long time. And maybe that's why I'm so callous to worrying about the sky is falling cut stuff. Because that was years. That was many years. I want to find somebody who was shooting back then. It was many years. I got my shirt on fucking backwards. It was many years of no 22 anywhere. It was a couple of years of no 22. We barely had a few months of ammo shortage, if it's not weeks, depending on where you're at. I still go into chats, and it's less and less, I suppose. I'm not really paying attention, but there's still people that'll be like, there's ammo in my gun shop. I got stacks of ammo. I mean, I don't go to the gun shops and look, so I don't know what it's like here. I'm guessing it's empty here. But anyway, I'm done saying that. I think it was a lot worse back then. And because it was Obama's 23 executive actions in the middle of that scare, we had shortage based on the fire, and then people just being greedy. Like, that was the reason there's so much. I don't know if you listen to people, I guess, at my era, what the fuck I'm called, like, listen to the people from the chats from the 13 era, live stuff, and people were upset with the people who were hoarding because there was no reason to hoard. Because prior to Obama's 23 executive actions, there was no political incentive to hoard. It was just a market thing, like the toilet paper scenario was, where somebody decided, it's hard to get, so I'm going to grab 3, even though I don't need 1. And now there's less. And then everybody starts doing that, and there's less. Plus, there was this massive lack of supply. So everybody was like, dang it, I need 22 to go teach little kids. Like, I need 22 to qualify for my blah, blah, blah. Like, I need 22 for stuff, and I can't get it. And people were ripping each other's throats out. It was ugly. And that was mid, and that was like 2012, let's say, like when that just was happening, and it was getting to be annoying. And then it was getting to be like, people were really pissed off at each other, and people were really getting upset. And I mean, like, people who, I don't know, somebody would come out and be like, I got 10,000 rounds of 22, and everybody like, fuck you, you shouldn't be hoarding it, and that kind of shit. And then Obama comes out with the things, and now all of a sudden 9mm, everything else that was, kind of getting affected, boom, gone. And then how long did that last? A year? So we're still talking like months compared to like 2 years of straight drought. And at the same time all that was happening, there was people that really, really, really wanted to get into shooting. They started learning about shooting. The 2013 executive actions brought tons of people on board. And I'm guessing those are all the people that got on board not realizing there was a shortage, and then at some point saw or experienced a lack of shortage and don't know what reality is, because none of us know what reality is. It's always changing, but at least they don't know what any kind of norm is, because they've only dealt with nothing and then surplus plenty. Because when that company, or whenever that powder company came back online, I'm guessing they came back online bigger. And I don't know, I haven't really paid attention, but I don't think we've had a lot of ammo shortage until just now. And of course, I might be summarizing it wrong. I'd love to have somebody on who can summarize it better, but only somebody who's actually paying attention, not just theorizing that this is the whatever. Start range mass trace a week in a healthy pile. Do you got those shift sorting things? I got these like sorting bucket things one time. They have like different size holes, so you can pretty quickly sort out the different calibers. You just have to like shift them to like you're sorting sand or something. So we just loading something else. This year it's been in waves. Do you mean the ammo? Or you mean just in general? The media focus has been in waves? It's definitely been orchestrated. So, normally there's fires. Normally there's storms. Normally it's hot. Normally there's, something will happen that can cause unrest or whatever. But rarely is it orchestrated as well to be like a fucking symphony, right? Where they have their drum section of like civil unrest, shortage, para, whatever the fuck, pandemic, civil unrest. They're fucking playing it like an orchestra this year. And again, we're going to find out, I guess, in a few weeks if that's all been a massive puppet show to, do whatever they're trying to do or not. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. The virus, Ursula was saying the virus has actually benefited American manufacturing. The company I deal with are no longer willing to buy Chinese molds. That's awesome. I'd love to hear it. I really think we got the potential. Getting shook up every once in a while is what we need, right? That's what societies need. Glad it's not a war doing it, just a bunch of bullshit doing it. But hopefully one of the other consequences will be that we'll learn more and then challenge pseudoscience, right? We'll find experts that actually there you go. I just had a dual attack. A big ass mosquito came right at me, but then some moth was playing with it, doing some sort of double attack, so it distracted me and I lost where the mosquito. But yeah, hopefully we'll see a rise in interest in local wars. That would be the best. I work in aerospace. It's only one. Okay, you're still doing good. I think it's because of somebody canceled. What, they cancel like 100 airplanes or something? That's got to be scary for a place. All of a sudden, they don't have a bunch of airplane orders. other guys talking about getting military contracts. No, it's the same chats as before. When I'm listening to live shows that I get so many of these things up half-assed, not finished. I'm having to edit all these damn things as I'm fiddling with them. Oh, dang it. This is the thing I came in for. What's the Bill and Ted show? Or kind of listened to it today. Anybody seen the new Bill and Ted movie yet?
I have not seen the movie yet. I've just seen the trailers, but I am dying to see it.
Pretty good. I'm not complaining at all. I think they did pretty good. Because I didn't know what to expect or whatever. I think I wasn't surprised, but I think that they did pretty good. Boeing 3 planes are 50% of your business. I feel like those companies are too big to die, so too big to fail. So they'll get some of that free government money. Still too big to fail yet. You'll be all right.
Yeah, I can't see the government letting them go under.
That's like Seattle, right? Like, pull in that needle, that costs money.
Well, shoot, didn't Boeing and some of the other airlines get big money from the government during this whole stimulus thing anyways?
Especially, well, I think the airplane business did because of the whole nobody's flying, right? I don't know what that meant though. If that meant like the airports or what. All I know is every big business is green. They're all wrong. Let's try. So we have a Davis Derringer that has an impossible hammer spring. Would it be safe to try and anneal it? So what does that mean? Get it all hot and make it different temper? I don't know. You have to talk to a metal person for that. That sounds crazy. But don't do anything to the spring you got. You can go, well, must still be places I've seen where you can buy just like baggies. So, I don't know, crime guns or buybacks. Anytime they're destroying guns in mass, for whatever reason, but they're not idiots, they'll take the guns apart. They'll put all the parts in a bag. Then they'll smash the receiver like enough times to not be a receiver anymore. Smash it like 2 or 3 times through the holes or something. And then they'll put it all in the bag. Or maybe they'll leave a piece of receiver out. Often they'll just put 2 pieces of receiver back in and then sell all that for like $8 on an old cheap gun like that. So look around for a cheap spring because you can buy a spring and then experiment on that spring and no harm, no foul. If it works, great. If it doesn't, big deal. You lost $2 or something. Do you know Quail Unlimited went out of business?
No, I didn't know there was a Quails Unlimited.
Oh, it was a big deal back in the day. Or at least they had good marketing because I heard about them. I don't even know. I don't have Quails for sure. I think it's supposed to be a spring, exactly. So Numeric is this place in New York, and they go around buying companies when they go out of business, or maybe they quit a line or something, and now they're just going to have a bunch of extra parts laying around. So since 1950, they've been just buying stuff. So they own a lot. They've actually got some pretty cool warehouses and stuff. They've been importing stuff, but because they're all into it for so long, they've been buying companies. So you can sometimes get like literally the same part that was supposed to go in that gun. You know, it was made in with all the other springs to go in that gun from here. But I don't know about Davis. I don't know. Those I think went to some place. Well, actually, Davis all went to Cobra, so you can just go to Cobra and buy that spring. But you can buy what I was talking about is like dead used guns or whatever. Oh, what the fuck am I putting Real Unlimited in here anyway? This is not.
Isn't annealing actually just a hardening process?
Well, it's screwing with the temperature. So the temper or the temperature or whatever. All right, so I think we solved that one. I feel like we saved a spring from being heated up for no reason. I'm not saying that spring owes us, but whatever. Annealing, taking the material out of its hardened state. Okay, so it's just making it soft. But what if you just barely nail it? Oh, this one's kind of interesting. I thought it was a North American Squirrel Association. You ever heard of it? Anyone? Anyone?
No.
Makes you think like, oh, it's some sort of a hunting thing for squirrels, right? But that's just what they call it. It is to provide physically challenged and elderly members of our community with outdoor activities such as hunting and fishing. I think that's pretty fucking cool.
That's pretty neat.
They call it the NASA, North American Squirrel Association. It probably started with squirrel hunting, I'm guessing.
Might have to bring that up on Rick's chat next Wednesday. See if anybody on there's heard of it.
Dude, I can't list all the places that are for accessible hunting. I can list some of them that do like some shooting stuff, like shooting oriented, but there are tons. There are literally tons. That's definitely something that there's potential for. All there is right now, and again, NRA is so shitty and horrible and they ruin everything. So NRA adaptive shooting is the only resource on the internet. They're fucking horrible losers that only buy expensive suits for anybody and they suck or whatever. The only resource on the internet that has this many organizations. I can't list them all. Because many of them are like, Southern Florida or like, Trinity Oaks at some place in town. Like, there's just one little tiny place. So I'm not picking the ones that are little. I'm trying to pick the ones that are more larger, have been around for a while, but this is all just places. Most of this is hunting. Let me go over here and flip it to sort. So there's actually none that are just fishing in here. So there are some that are just fishing, but no, these are different ones. What is this? Oh, I thought it said adaptive, or I thought it said ability for accessibility for women. It says Wisconsin. But all of these are either hunting and fishing or just hunting. And then there's ones that are shooting, which are more like sports oriented. And you got archery, air rifle, handgun, and shotgun, and marksman, like long distance rifle. So tons. I was definitely impressed. And anyway, so I've got a sample of them here. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 is my sample set. I think I've got them all. At least all the ones I was going to do, because then these are all hunting ones. But yeah, anyway, I went in to start doing hunting ones. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to go do a couple of hunting things. I forgot about hunting because I don't hunt that much. So I'm like, oh, let me just do, those like deer foundation, duck foundation or whatever, elk foundation, right? There's pretty much one for each critter, and then a couple others. So it only took a minute. But then I started finding resources for, let's take somebody hunting type of shit. And that's when it gets cool. And then there's companies that build stuff for adaptive hunting, chair platforms, the aggressive chairs that can go anywhere, so you can actually get somewhere to go hunting type of shit. So I'm including some of that stuff too. A lot of that shit's in Indiana, FYI. I don't know why, but it is. Maybe they have a lot of hunting guys. It's in Indiana. Or they have a lot of veterans. They're not all veterans. Some of them are kind of different. Some of them are for kids. Some of them are for, there's a lot of them to do with therapy too, but some of them are for, amputees, or somebody that just had something, they just wanted to get a break from shit. Have, basically a vacation from shit, but add to it. And then these are just the ones that have shooting. If you get rid of the shooting, crap, there's a ton of them. None of the ones that are just going to take you water skiing or do stuff, hiking in the woods. Wow, 375, but I guess it's all wiggled the right way and heat treated or whatever for you. How much is shipping? I don't know if people say their shipping is good or bad. I try to go to Doomrich at the gun shows, so they'll go to some, the big gun shows. So that's one of the reasons to go to a big gun show, is for a place like that they'll set up, because again, you're buying a $3 part. Sometimes you might have to call them and say, bring me one of them parts, but they will, and then you don't have to pay no shipping. So that helps offset your cost of going to the gun show. Me? Oh, maybe when I hit the keyboard. Oh, looks like Texas jumped out. Right, I gotta move this. It's been that way. Throw the link back on here.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. For some reason my mic was dead and I was talking and I figured y'all weren't interested. I don't know why. So I fixed it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, no, while y'all were talking, I was, talking back, but then I just realized that no one could hear me. I was, G-Webs, off the top of your head, I was just curious, do you know how many of these, like the booklets you've worked on and all that since you've started on it? How about how many you've done?
Books, you mean?
Yeah.
Did the almanac, right? And then Caucasus were like, hey, let's do a 2A rally in fucking Virginia. Same exact time I'm trying to do my damn thing. So then that ruined it, and I never really did it, right? So I did it, but then I did never make it, which is fine because then everything in it would have been, except for the historic dates, everything that actually was, half of the book was current events. So none of the gun show, well, half of the gun show, more than half, whatever, I don't have to explain the year to you, the year. So the almanac was ruined. So then I made, I don't remember what order anymore, but I think I did another two. I started the 50 states, which started out being the same data, just organized by states instead of by timeline, right? And it started working itself into a separate thing. And one of the things I did in the almanac was put, on the sides, what do we call this part of the book? What do you call, like, the leaf? I don't know what you call this outside part of the book. But anyway, I had the state second amendments just for no reason stuck on the sides of the book, each page, because I put all kinds of shit into the almanac to make it cool. So I was like, oh, that's neat. I want to elaborate on that, right? And I figured, oh, okay, the almanac ain't going to work this year at all because we don't even know what's going to happen next year, right? I'm just screwed on the whole almanac concept. So this thing was basically that. And then I did one that's the history of gun websites from 2004 to 2020, to cover our 16 years or whatever. And then the hard drive broke and killed everything that I did. So, like I was saying, I had to rebuild this one. And then at that point, I was like, well, fuck if I'm going to rebuild 3 books that I've already written. So I started doing the Revolver one just to do something different. And then also to figure out the actual process. But it's easy to start something, right? Anybody can start something. And then digging into it is just putting a bunch of time into it. And then actually finishing it is a separate thing. So since I had already kind of written, 3 by then, but never done anything with them, they were just there and then disappeared. I was like, I need to finish one. So that's why I ran the Revolver one all the way through. Like finished it just to see, because it's actually almost exponential. When you get to the end, like the editing and shit, takes a billion times more time than I would have ever thought it would have taken. Because
Yeah.
putting it together, you'd think would be all the time, but finding all the info and shoving it in there. But it's really just peeling over and over and over and editing. Just takes forever. You just can't speed it up. It just you have to keep looking at it and fucking with it and looking at it and tweaking shit. So it's anyway. So figure in the book, the gun one, the revolver one, and then figured I need to do something that's more interesting to more people than the revolvers, which is probably I couldn't even get the people at the that are interested in those mini revolvers. They didn't even want to buy it. Only 2 people wanted to buy it over there in the forum where people sit around and only talk about mini revolvers. Like they literally don't give a shit about anything except North American arms. They could not give a flying fuck about anything else besides North American arms. So for years, every time I go over there and talk about anything else, they could just care less. And even this book, even with the history of North American arms in it, they could care less. They just don't care. All they're like listening to a bunch of old women nowadays talk about, oh, I'm buying the new CZ, I'm buying the new fucking SIG, like blah, blah, blah. Like how many fucking versions of the same fucking models do you need? And they're only buying the new ones just so they can have another one laying in a pile. And like there's no class or no like culture to their collection. It's just like the new. Whatever's next, whatever they're selling next, whatever they're selling tomorrow, I can't wait in line.
They are savages.
So anyway, it's boring. I just don't like. That's why I don't hang out in that forum. So anyway, whenever I put the book, finally it was close to done. I put it over there to get some editing help. No help. 2 people were like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy one," at $7.62 fucking cents. Like if I can't even print it for like it cost me $13 to print it because it kills 2 ink cartridges to print the fucking thing.
Right.
So it cost me more than that. It cost me $16 to print it myself. I'm not going to sell it for $7. That would be if I somewhere printed it. Had it printed in the thousands or whatever it would take to bring the price down to where I could actually retail it. But, what the fuck do people not watch Shark Tank? Like you don't just, if you sell something for $7, you can't have it printed for $6 and actually make any money. You have to actually, do business. So anyway, I figured instead of trying to do the gun thing, which I really wanted to do like the bayonets and other things that are interesting to me, I figured I'd do the 50 states to get the Second Amendment out there again. And then we'll see what happens. But anyway, so 4, I guess. But I've got about 3 others started that I'm not talking about because I can't handle editing shit over and over and over. Every once in a while, I just got to start a new one because it's funner to start a new one. And I have other ideas. So I've started a few others that I only get like a night or a couple of hours into, and I don't want to keep starting a million things. So I just get that out of my system and go back to finishing this fucking one.
Did you say you were planning on a bayonets book, or you were already working on one?
Well, there'll be a couple of them probably. Bayonets is going to have to be. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 8 books already written about the bayonets, and I've already written one kind of. I did. Took a bunch of my pictures and stuck them into a book.
I have several, but you've seen my Instagram. I like everything that I like, and so bayonets is one of my things. I love them. I'm not like one of those people that's super knowledgeable about every version and type and thing of that. I just like them, and the ones that catch my eye are the ones that are for the rifles that I have. I definitely. It's one of my things, and I have several books on them. I just bought one a couple weeks ago on Amazon. On eBay. It was an out of print one. I don't remember the name, but it's pretty cool, and it's pretty thorough too.
I don't know shit about any of them except for AK bayonet. So my collection is only AK bayonet. I might have like 6 other bayonets in my whole pile of shit that isn't AK. But, they're all AKs, and again, I don't have anything that aren't in the books. The Polish and the Czechoslovakians have way more stuff than we do. Like we might have American shit that they don't have, and they, for some reason, get all excited about stupid Chinese shit that we have over here. But like they have all the real stuff, and they don't need I can't even compete because now the books have all the prototypes and the
stuff you can't
stuff that we never even had a chance to.
I have
Yeah. It costs money.
I ended up with some AK bayonets that that a friend of my dad's had a box of them and said, "Hey, do you want these?" And I was like, "Sure." And they were original. I mean, they are Russian AK-74, the newer versions, like the current version bayonets. I don't know what their model name is. And then I have one of the, again, I'm not knowledgeable on them, but the original AK-47 bayonets had the skinny handle and they baked like grips, and the bayonet was more like a normal bayonet instead of the short Bowie style that they have now. It's whatever it is. Anyway, so I ended up with a bunch of them, and that's what kind of when they got me interested in it. But yeah, I like them. I love them, and I just have them hanging on the wall there. I don't know all their types and all that, but I probably got like 10 or 12 that are all for the different AKs. The ones that hook on the back instead of the front for the Polish AKs. So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had pretty much, I mean, there was like 5 or 6 things that I didn't have, but that was like if there was 5 variations of a German and 3 of them were common and 2 of them were known to exist, like I might have missed one of those. And then things I couldn't get, like no one could get in this country, and then stuff that there was a couple of things that you could get, but they were out of my price range because I'm not insane and I never spent. And the only most I ever spent was $300 on a German bayonet, that's worth about $1,000. So
wow,
never spent a lot of money on it.
So you paid. You said you paid $300 for a $1,000 bayonet.
Well, when you buy something many years prior, then yeah, all prices go up. But I'm just saying, like the most I ever spent was a couple $100, $300 on a bayonet. Never bought a $700 bayonet or anything.
Right.
And anyway, so all I'm saying is there's nothing I can add. My collection was brute force. I just wanted to have a selection of everything, one of each. I went quantity over quality. So I probably at one point could have shown, and I already have pictures of all this, but I could probably, put a couple of different variations together in one photograph. But there's no need, because when I took the pictures, it was with a shitty camera that the fucking Polish, if they don't already have them all in one picture, then they've got them in 3 pictures instead. And who cares if it's in one picture or not? But they've got like incredible photographs that are exactly what you want. And I don't even care about doing that. Like even if I had the bayonets, I wouldn't be taking all that effort to be taking fancy photographs. So there's no way I'm going to compete with some sort of book on pictures or
right. Well, yeah.
What I'm going to do is have a book that talks about my collection and collecting, and then probably I'm going to either in the book or a separate thing have an attempt at like an actual collector's guide where it's more of here's just the things that exist, and you can put a little checkbox or somehow like a collection type of organizing to let you know if you can have them all. But I'm not going to try to express any knowledge. I only was aware of the bayonets. There's no way to know about them really, and if there is, I don't know where to get that access. Like you'd have to talk to somebody who worked at a factory or watch a video. So I'm not interested enough to do all that. My interest was finding them at gun shows and then accumulating them and figuring out what they were. But I was just interested in having the collection and finding the collection. So my book will be more about the act of collecting and what it's like to acquire a collection that, I mean, there might have been when it was still good because I've sold all the good stuff out of it already, but I still have quantity wise, I'll go down with anybody. I have more bayonets than anybody like in this country, but all the good ones are gone. When it was still a good collection, I still only had there was probably at least 5 or 6 people that had better collections than me. But anyway, my book will be about acquiring a collection that was, top 10 in the world of those bayonets at the time. And that'll be what I can add because I'm not interested in adding all the shit I just said I can't add.
I remember the first time I came up on your website I think it was like, I'm just guessing because I was in Missouri at the time. I think it was like 2008. I don't know if you had the website then.
I had every website pretty much since 6.
Okay, so yeah, and then I would go on there and see just random stuff and stuff like that. And then when I made because I'm slow and ignorant when you were on YouTube, I remember I used to watch all your bayonet videos because you used to make you made you'd show them and all that, and that's how I identified some of the ones I had and all that. But you were probably one of the first people that I actually like I had the YouTube account, but the people that I actually subscribed to, I was like, hey, I just put on there. So it just reminded me of that when you started talking about the bayonets.
You know? And then I'll probably do something on the Ring of Fires because, and nobody fucking gives a shit about it. So that'll be an interesting one to shove down everybody's throat. Nobody will want it.
I like all the Jimenez and the Jennings, the Ravens. And then the other thing that I like too is the AK magazines. For some reason, I like them, so I buy old ones when I can.
There's definitely people that are into those things too. And they would be easy as much, they're just as much, probably more than bayonets even. Because if they made one gun, they probably made like 2 bayonets for it, and then they probably made 6 magazines for it, and then 1 billion rounds of ammo. So yeah. I'm going straight to ammo. I'm sick of big shit. I want to get stuff.
And that's the other thing. I collect. Again, I'm not a professional or anything like that, but I like to collect ammo too, and have tons and tons on shelves. The same thing. I'm one of those like ADHD collectors. I like certain things. I find them, and then when I get what I want, I move on to something else. I like the old stuff though, mostly. I mean, then I don't like the new stuff. I use for practical reasons if I need it, but I like the old stuff. So.
Oh, really? I haven't been trying to buy nothing, but you just got to keep looking underneath the stuff and at gun shows, really, because that's where people that don't know what they got don't appreciate it or don't even care.
Yep. I sometimes just buy like at the gun shows. They have those people have a box of junk, and they have a price on it. I go for those a lot. Sometimes you find really cool stuff in it. Sometimes crap, but sometimes you find, like I found a Russian B-32, like 60 rounds in one of those boxes. Just find random stuff. I am the furthest thing from a professional collector. More of a hoarder.
There's a guy in South Africa that collects all bayonets, though. You need like a building, I'm sure, for that.
That likes what?
If you collect all bayonets. There's too many. Hanging around forever. And they're still being made, so it's just never ending.
There's people that collect tanks. G-Webs and barbecue. Y'all have a good night.
Taking off.
I'm gonna head out.
We've got 8 people watching, so I'll do the link out here periodically. I'll throw it out again. Otherwise, yeah, if I wrap it up, as much as I don't mind doing this, I don't get any work done this week because I'm sitting around talking more than I'm thinking and whatever. So I got to keep going with this, and then I'm going to do the hunting thing before I can move on to the next stuff tonight. So I don't want to leave it all on barbecue again. Unless he's got stuff to chat about. Otherwise, we can chat about different.
You guys have a good evening, and I'll see you the next time I can make it.
You too.
All right. See you.
Yeah, nothing's jumping into my head now, G.
I do have some interesting science lectures. It's pretty neat when you get to thinking about it. You've got, what are they saying? Physics is, what is it called? Physics is what creates chemistry, and chemistry creates biology, and biology creates sociology, and then that's us as humans in the world, right? Society. So if you go back down to physics, at the bottom of all of that, math is what makes physics. And if you get down into math and different types of physics and stuff, you get down to the different elements and it all makes sense. And then you get to a certain point where it doesn't make sense anymore. And at least not the same kind of sense, right? It just kind of gets fragmented or something. I forget the words for it. But it's interesting to listen to different people explain it in layman's terms. Because you get basically down to where it gets to where it's real easy to think of it as a computer program. Like you hear about the tinfoil hat stuff where they say this is all just a big computer program. It's pretty interesting when you hear science people talk about how this might all, it's one of the theories, like it's an actual theory. This might all just be a giant, whatever the word is, AI type of thing. So anyway, it's just interesting to listen to these things. As they work, because there's nothing to look at usually. And if I miss a piece of it, I don't care because I don't really know what they're saying, but it's interesting to listen to it. And like I said, I got a bunch of them, I think, queued up here according to YouTube. I don't know how that happened, but maybe I accidentally clicked on a playlist instead of a video. But I think, did I just read this right? It is going to get down to 70 fucking 9 tonight. And it isn't even going to be 100 tomorrow. It's going to rain, but it isn't even going to be 100. And it's going to be down to the 70s for a while, and then 72. So I might actually work on the robot. If the robot doesn't go underwater from all this rain, depends on if I actually get rained on or not. But I don't know if he's still out there, but I might be able to use some of them deals that Erstwhile sent, and do appreciate it. Been jumping at the bit to get out there. I do have to do my taxes, so it's probably not the most prudent thing to do, and I got other things I should be doing, but it's the first time it's not been 100 in a while. So we'll see what happens. But tonight, I'm looking at being able to go under 80. I don't think you can, I don't know how you get weather to go backwards and look the other way, but I don't know when the last time it's been under 80. It's been a while. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that just means I can get a lot of work done tonight. I probably won't be falling asleep because it's fucking hot as shit. What's Bob saying? We were at a Crossroads. Crossroads gun show? Am I missing stuff? What is Bob talking about? What is Bob talking about? I have no idea. I just said about how I can work all night, and now I'm falling asleep.
Cup of coffee and an energy drink, you'll be all right.
Oh, I'm not drinking an energy drink, but I will drink some. Yeah, he's not saying. Oh, Crossroads of the West. Yeah. They haven't had, I think they had Crossroads shows somewhere. Was it Utah or California? Somewhere where they're allowed to gather. But in Arizona, they're being all stupid about it. So they have to, well, the one show that I heard about happening was I forget what he said, a half or a fifth or a fourth, some percentage, some small percentage of what they could normally be. And then and I was like, oh, because no one's buying tables? And he's like, no, because they only allow us to have like every other table. So, imagine if they cut half the tables out of a gun show. So I don't know. I think it'll take until everybody says, oh, it's over now. Now you're allowed to go not give a shit. Then everybody will go back to gun shows. Anyway, they haven't even had any down here yet. They have not started back up, I guess I should say. Eating Cinnabons. Oh, snap, $10. Thank you very much. That's like food for the weekend, actually. Eating Cinnabons. I don't know if he means he's eating Cinnabons or if we were eating Cinnabons. I don't think we were eating them. I don't remember eating a Cinnabon ever, so I don't think I ever ate one. But I don't even remember having access to a shit ton of them, or do I? Trying to remember the shows that me and Bob went to. I can't imagine. I would definitely not go to a Cinnabon. So I can't, unless somebody had to have them for free or something.
Well, I remember, the last couple of years that I was driving truck, Cinnabon was popping up in a lot of the truck stops.
Yeah, I know they're around. Like that's definitely, like you say, like a growing chain or whatever.
I tried it once. I wasn't real impressed.
I worked at a Starbucks, and it was a Starbucks inside of a store. So you had to go get Starbucks training, and then you also had to deal with the store. So I don't know what a regular Starbucks is like. I'm guessing it's something similar, but well, maybe not. For the Starbucks side, you got this dough. For like, I can't remember. It probably came in the freezer, but it might have come in a regular refrigerator. I just don't remember anymore. But basically, you got some cold dough. You would stick it in this air oven, like an oven that just used hot air. So I think it was just electric and hot air, which is like easier to install in places. So it's better, or better for consistency of locations than a regular oven, I think. But it's also similar to a microwave. You just barely take this raw stuff, you stick it in there like an idiot could do it. You stick it in there, you push the colored button for the right, goop that you put in there. You wait 20 minutes and they're done, and it shuts off. It's all pre-programmed. Like, it's not like a regular stove. It's like a robot stove that's designed to cook whatever it is you throw in there. Anyway, that's I had to deal with that stuff for the first time. I think for the first time, at least the first time that it was that gross, and it was just. Was like, no way am I paying for this ever. This isn't even food. This was some sort of product that got stuck out of some sort of machinery and then frozen and then, reheated basically. And then they pour enough corn syrup over it that some dumbass is going to pay me. I think it cost me like 25 cents to buy the frozen stuff. And then, of course, we'd sell them for $4. It's just way too cheap to do it. So there's no way I'm ever going to go into a Cinnamon Buns and pay for $4 for a 25-cent piece of dough that's gross. Like Bob says, make the homemade ones. So yeah, if you're eating homemade ones, that's a whole different thing.
So the thing is, I think they were way more than $4. I think it was like $7 or $8 at the truck stop.
Ooh.
It was
The thing
insane.
is, for a long time, I really wanted to have a cyber cafe because when I was running that thing, you're turning water, which is just filtered water, so it costs you something for a filter once in a while and some initial cost to buy your filter. But every restaurant's going to have filters. It's not like an extra cost or anything. Anyway, you got filtered water, which doesn't cost very much, and then some beans. And even if you buy the fanciest beans ever, they don't cost you that much. And you're selling that hot water for $4 or more. And then, well, here's the thing. So that was the Starbucks side, is you would have these, I don't know, whatever the stuff was called anymore. I don't really remember because nobody ever ordered it, is the thing. So we had to have that because Starbucks have to have some amount of product, I guess. It was some rule. So we had to have that stuff. But at the same time, because we were inside of a store, the store wanted, like, it had an area where you'd sit down and eat or whatever, or drink coffee. So we would buy bakery crap off of some local bakery. So basically every morning, this truck would come up, or a van would come up. These vans were better, and they would, give us a couple of sheets of whatever I ordered, like donuts, not donuts, but fancier than donuts, some kind of muffins and pastries and crap. And it was nuts. Like I was paying, I don't remember anymore, like 35 cents, 40 cents, under 50 cents for everything. And I would buy, just enough for that day. I didn't want to be throwing shit away for no reason. But even if I had to throw everything away, if I was going on vacation or something, and I just put in some dumb order just so it would be covered, I'd lose like $8. But I would have, when you sell something that costs 35 cents, yeah, like you're saying, I think back then it was like $4. So some dumbass would come in there and pay $4 for like a muffin. Drove me nuts. So I really wanted to order or open a cyber cafe after that. It was like, man, you're just turning quarters into dollars, and then you're turning water into money. So all you really got to do is have a good location that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. And I think those ones that are in buses, and at least in Tucson, we have a couple that are in like double-decker buses or something, like where they just drive up into a parking lot and start doing their thing. They got to be making bank. Homemade ones, though, you need a big counter. I don't have a big fancy counter like that. Can you imagine making cinnamon rolls the real way in my house, Bob? Like you'd have all kinds of nuts and bolts and sawdust and shit. There's nowhere in my house that you could lay out that amount of dough and not get all kinds of crap in it, and mouse turds and a bunch of Mellows hair in there. This dust constantly rains in here from the ceiling fans. I don't think I've ever dusted a ceiling fan. Every once in a while I just knock my hand into it. It'll break my knuckle and like knock a chunk of the dust off, and it comes flying down. It's all around. Like, this is not the place you want to make cinnamon buns. Or if you did, you'd not want to eat them. You'd want to give them to your enemies. All right, well, that's the end. So that's the show. We throw out a link and we have a conversation about guns. If you want to be part of it, be part of it. If you don't, I guess you're just going to sit there and not be part of it. All right, thanks, Barbecue, for jumping in. Thanks to Texas for jumping in earlier, and all for chatting. We'll be back to pick up later.